Dakoshakai. As we allow our senses to drop, Dakoshai, releasing where we are picking up sensitivities, Dohoshashishao, of others. Toyana kokoshai. It's almost as if tokoshai chohoya. This is a chamber space, toho shoshi, with a float valve, or it looks a bit like a tokoshai, this plunger where it moves up and down through this cylinder. We can raise this tohoshai base in order to let in more air or more energies, tohoshai, but we can also lower it, expelling this external atmospheric range of tokoshai, coming into quiet space. And feeling that dropping out through the legs. And just noticing where, when we command this space for ourselves, Tohoya, noticing the energies that arise, Tokoshai, this perhaps feelings of guilt, shame, Tohoshai. Is this even my space to be in? The anxiety, Tohosha, that someone may come in and find us in here, Tokosha Ichakoya, the trembling, the ho, through the feminine range, and the despair through the masculine range of being isolated and alone, Chohoya. So let's start to reorder these mental orientations to being in clear space, especially through this abdominal range. Let's come into the ranges of children, the child within, as well as our own children, as well as the general apocalyptic tone, this nature of this world, which deposits its fears, anxieties, overwhelms, irritations, agitations within the child, the kokoshai ichaya, expecting the child to carry these burdens, tokoshai, rather than seeing and knowing for the self, dealing with for the self, tokoshai chokaya. This child labor, tokoshai, this child enslavement. Yes, it may play out in the physical where we see it, but it started internally, it started energetically dumping tokoshashi within the children. Dakai tokoshai, this backside of the abdominal range, takachai chokoya. This enslavement, but really it is this cellular isolation, feeling alone and abandoned, even while in the presence of others, even while being within this world. Coming high up into this above the brainstem here, the solar rites of passage, bringing source light here to release this through the solar plexus, and through it feels to be beneath the shoulder blades, but it's a bit up and in on an angle from there, Chohosha, more around the back of the heart, Chotokosha Ichakaya. this wingspan, Jokushai. These feel to say Luciferian ranges, Tokushai Chokoya Kashai Chokoya. Releasing from the top of the heart, Koshai Chokoya. Where the cries are ignored, where we are numbed, Tokushai to the cries, where we continue to numb ourselves, Tokushai Chokoya. Oh, rather than calling in the light, rather than opening to the light, self-persecution, forgetting the self, forgetting that the self can always return to the light, return to within the light. Tokoko kono kochai. We all feel so complicated and entangled and interwoven. Let the light in, chono kokoshai. It is as simple as this surrender. And yet our resistance to this, because of the way the fields had been shamed and manipulated, into surrendering against their true nature. The confusion, this complicating web, coming into the backside of the pelvis, this webbing, this structure. Oh, takashaya, these grieving natures, as if the more we cry out, the more we realize no one hears. So to express becomes a greater sense of entrapment, a greater sense of aloneness. To cry out, Tokoshai, only increases despair. Choya at the cries that go unheard. Tohoya, falling into silence. The silence reverberating so painfully from within these walls, from within these stones. As you allow the voice of your own heart, the true tone of your heart, to vibrate into these stones, using the stones to reflect back your pure tone, your self, rather than perceiving this as your cries going unheard, reflecting back to your own self the truth of who you are. This is your power here at this base. Now, releasing through the base of the tailbone, Chotokoshai, these antiquated versions. Takashai Chakaya Takachaya. Chaya Choya Taki Chakai. Reordering, renewing through the sacral, investing your own light within yourself here. Chotokoshai Chokoya Kashai. Where it is perceived that your voice, your tone, your heart waves are unreceived and therefore dissipate out, Lokoshai, die off, Lokoshai Chokoya. Choya Tai Choya. You create this chamber space within these walls to reverberate back into your own being, your own truth of your light. Jotokoya Jai, coming into the bone density, to the bone marrow network here, Koshai, coming deeply, Dokoshai Shohoya, into the Koshai, the bottom chambers, this range within the pelvic bone, Dokosha, deep within the brain, Toho, the base of the skull, Dokoshai Chataki, into the base of the wingspans of the body, Dokoshai Chadokochai Chokoya, into these hollow caverns, Dokoshai Chokoya, of emptiness, Jaya, this hollow core, Dokoro Okochai Chokoya Chokoya Kachai, where we have been afraid to put our tones, where we have been afraid to bring our voice, where we have resisted vocalizing Dakoro Okochai Jayotokoshai, these intonations of light now, Dakoshai Chokoya Yayokochai, absorbing, surrounding, encompassing the silence, Dokoshai, the terror of the aloneness, Doyanai Koi Choyakaya Koyachai, expelling this through the left hip, the chambers of silence. The echoes of silence between the waves. Dokora icha tokocha I atokoya. Jatokoya ja shi. Ja shi shiautokoya. Jiatokoya kai. Jiatokoya kai. When all is silent, when all is still, let it be known, this is your space, this is your voice, this is your heart, here within. Knowing this as peace, knowing this as stillness. Reinstancing the tone of self within, here. Occupying the chambers of being. Where you have been made to feel alone within this tone of the self. Chokota isha koya. Chokota isha koya. That voice that scraped and crawled through your cells. You should be ashamed of yourself. Doyataka chokaya. Chokotai Tokoya. Allowing this to express from the cells, returning this back to the mirrors, Tokoya Chaki, within the chambers that suppressed this within your being, Tokoshai, that impressed this into your being, Dokoshai Chokoya, Chokoya Takaya Chokoya. Chokoya. Returning this back out through the root, Dokochaki. Chokotai Chokoya. Dokoya Takai Choya Kotoya. How dare you utter this in my name, Tokoya Chakaya Chokoya. That I would absorb this and become this to serve you, Dokochai Chakoya. I feel to the depths of my beingness that this is not I, Dokoshai Choya. Therefore, this is not me. This is not who I am. Doya Kachai Chokoya. That this be your will, Doshai. That this be returned back, Dokoshai, to your willingness, Dokoshai, Chotokoshai Chokoya. Recognizing where I have allowed this within me, where I have played this out within me. Where I have allowed the suppression within others. Dokoshai, Dokoshai. Through my subjected will, bringing light to the brainstem, allowing the self to come back into being, limp and ragged. The self that has been tortured, traumatized, exhausted, that did not want to return here. That we now provide safe haven within our being for this light to return, that we shall never again access purity of soul. Through these deadened ranges. This plausible participation, this burning in the heart. This key, Sumerian, Dokoshai pyramids, lost, lack, cries of the bricks through the heart, chokoshai chatokoya, the cries of enslavement, chokochai chokoya taki. That I would build this pyramid to keep me safe. To echo my own grief. Coming into these masculine ranges. These echo chambers. Releasing through the muscles of the shoulders, takashai, the back of the shoulder blades, tokoshai, choya, these periods of intonation, the wails and the cries of the abandoned souls. Cho, cho. We are here. See your light and return. That we clear through Tokoshai, the base of your brainstem, Tokoshai. Knowing the constrictions and restrictions that were placed here, not of your nature, not of your being, releasing the shame, the guilt, the burden, the analyzation, returning directly back to source, love, here, now. Purified heart expression, clarity, clarity within these waters, rising up through the waters, Tokoshai, into your own light, releasing these white pyramids cast upon the waters through the masculine ranges, Daichokoya, where you re-emerge from beneath the waters into this pyramid over the mind. Doyachai, that you feel this within the heart and know to release. Daicho, daikachaya. The shivering, the cold, the kicho kata. Daicho koya kasha. Releasing this terror within the heart of emerging from within the waters. Tokoshai. Reinstancing. Feel now through the waters for these hands of light, soothing along the backside of the field, transmitting through the nerves, the spinal column, reclaiming your sensitivity as your power, as your truth, not as your downfall. The ins insolation of light. Now, through your horizontal, remembering to your vertical, tokoshai, ciao, ciao, and releasing the stiffness. Releasing the tightness, the memories of birthing through the waters. Remerge with the light.